The galaxy had long forgotten Earth. To most of the great empires, humanity was a myth buried in the ruins of pre-expansion history. Old records spoke of a small blue world lost in a distant spiral arm, a world that had once burned itself in endless wars before vanishing into obscurity. For centuries, the galactic powers grew, expanded, and fought their own battles, believing that the species once called human had perished under its own ambition. But they were wrong. The first sign came in silence. Deep sensors placed at the edges of the Varan sector detected an energy signature, unlike anything in recorded archives. Fleets were dispatched, probes were sent, but every signal disappeared the moment it neared the anomaly. Commanders assumed it was a natural phenomenon, perhaps a collapsing star or a rogue quantum storm. They had no idea it was a doorway. Weeks later, the doorway opened and something vast emerged. It was not a ship in the traditional sense. It was a leviathan of steel and light, moving with calm precision, cloaked in fields that bent gravity itself. Every scanner malfunctioned when aimed at it. Every attempt to calculate its mass or energy yield returned errors. The ship's hull bore no insignia of known civilizations, no markings, no broadcasted codes. It simply drifted forward with quiet purpose. The first fleet that confronted it came from the Varan Dominion. 3,000 warships formed a defensive wall, their commanders confident in their strength. The Dominion had conquered dozens of systems, and their fleets were equipped with weapons that could pierce the crust of a planet. Yet when they hailed the unknown vessel, it did not respond. They fired first. Blue beams streaked across the void, slamming into the dark hull. Every energy blast vanished without effect. Moments later, the unknown ship released a single pulse of golden light. It was not an explosion but a wave that moved like the tide. When it passed, the Dominion fleet was gone, vaporized in perfect silence. The message spread across the stars like wildfire. Entire governments called emergency councils. The Galactic Council summoned every military strategist to assess the unknown threat. Some thought it was a weapon from another dimension. Others whispered a darker rumor, that it was human. Long ago, before the Galactic Age, ancient transmissions had spoken of Earth's ambition. Humans had been dreamers and builders, warriors and philosophers. They had sent messages into space not as conquerors but as seekers. Yet if they had survived, what had they become? The answer came soon. A transmission arrived in the common frequency of the Council network. The voice was steady and calm. It spoke in a language long dead yet still understandable through auto-translation. This is the Earth battleship Sol Vanguard. We come seeking dialogue. Do not interfere with our approach. The council chambers fell silent. Delegates looked at one another uncertain. The word Earth was known to a few historians as a footnote of extinction. Yet here it was, alive, speaking, and approaching their capital world. As Sol Vanguard entered known space, every civilization scrambled to show strength. Fleets assembled, planetary shields were raised, and orbital cannons aligned. But despite the tension, none dared to open fire. The memory of the Varan fleet's annihilation still haunted every commander. The ship slowed as it neared the capital system. Its size became clearer now, dwarfing the moons it passed. The hull was layered in reflective alloys, sleek and seamless, with faint blue energy veins pulsing across its structure. Its engines glowed like the heart of a star, yet emitted no radiation harmful to nearby vessels. Inside the council hall, the Supreme Chancellor of the galaxy stood with shaking hands. The chamber lights dimmed as the communication link connected. A figure appeared, a human clad in a uniform of deep gray, his expression calm, his posture unyielding. He spoke simply. We are not here for war, but we will not tolerate aggression. Earth has watched the galaxy for centuries. We remained silent until now because we hoped you would learn peace. You did not. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Delegates from war-torn empires protested. One stood and shouted, "You destroyed an entire fleet. You call that peace?" The human's eyes narrowed slightly. They fired first. We answered once. The Chancellor struggled to speak. What do you want from us? The human's gaze turned distant. Nothing you can give. We came because the galaxy is breaking itself apart. You fight over borders while your suns decay and your worlds starve. We have seen it before. We will not allow it again. When the transmission ended, panic consumed the council. Analysts tried to decipher the ship's technology. Its energy readings suggested power beyond the combined fleets of all major empires. Some proposed negotiation, Others urged preemptive strike. None noticed that Sol Vanguard was already moving again, toward the unclaimed systems near the galactic core. There, the truth of its mission became clear. A dying star had collapsed into instability, threatening to consume 3 inhabited worlds. Scientists had declared evacuation impossible. Yet Sol Vanguard entered the system and deployed vast arrays of metallic rings that surrounded the dying sun. Within hours, the star stabilized, its energy output balanced by mechanisms that no one understood. Billions of lives were saved. News spread faster than light. The ship that had once erased a fleet now saved entire civilizations. The galaxy's fear began to mix with awe. Who were these humans that commanded such technology? How long had they been watching? A historian from the Outer Archives uncovered ancient Earth records from the first century of expansion. The last message from humanity had read, "We are leaving to learn. When we return, we will bring balance." That message had been dismissed as a myth, but now, standing before the galaxy's greatest powers, it seemed to be a promise kept. Still, not all were ready to accept Earth's return. The Iron Collective, a war-driven empire of machine hybrids, viewed the human ship as a threat to their dominance. They gathered a coalition of fleets and launched a coordinated assault. It was the largest armada ever assembled, 10,000 ships armed with planetary siege weapons. The battle began at the edge of the Void Rift. The Collective struck first, unleashing waves of plasma storms and antimatter warheads. For a moment, space itself seemed to burn. Then the light faded, and Sol Vanguard remained untouched. The human voice returned over open channels. "You still believe fear is strength. You have learned nothing." The ship's hull began to shift. Panels opened like petals, revealing a core of white light. Then came a pulse, not to destroy but to disable. Every ship in the coalition went dark. Engines died, weapons froze, and communication ceased. Within minutes, the greatest fleet in the galaxy was adrift and powerless. The human spoke again. "Return to your homes. Build, not burn. You are not our enemies unless you choose to be." The silence that followed was more powerful than any explosion. The galaxy had witnessed dominance beyond comprehension, but also restraint beyond imagination. Days later, a new council meeting was held. The Chancellor addressed the assembly with weary eyes. "The humans have not conquered us," he said. "They have reminded us what power looks like when guided by purpose." In the following months, reports came of smaller human vessels appearing across frontier worlds. They carried supplies, technology, and medicine. They rebuilt cities ruined by wars. They taught energy stabilization, water renewal, and planetary defense. Yet they never stayed long. When asked about their empire, they gave only one answer: Earth stands alone. Curiosity grew. What had become of Earth? Why did they not claim the stars they could easily control? Some believed Earth itself was now a world of machines. Others thought it had evolved beyond physical form. But those who encountered the humans saw otherwise. They were flesh and blood, disciplined and patient, carrying a silent sorrow in their eyes, as if they had seen the end of many civilizations before. In time, Sol Vanguard vanished beyond the galactic rim. No one knew where it went. Yet whenever a world faced collapse, when black holes threatened colonies or when wars spiraled beyond reason, faint signals appeared. A shadow moved through the void, unseen yet felt. And each time it came, destruction halted, peace returned, and the legend grew. Centuries later, children across 1,000 worlds would hear the story of the day Earth returned. Teachers would speak of a single ship that silenced empires not with endless fire, but with the calm certainty of justice. And somewhere, in the quiet of deep space, a lone vessel continued its journey, its hull glowing softly under distant stars. Inside, humans stood at their stations, watching, waiting, guarding. They had no empire, no desire for conquest. Their mission was simple: to ensure the mistakes of the past were not repeated. For they had learned that true strength was not in domination, but in control, not in fear, but in the promise of balance. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity's silence, not its words. Because when Earth's battleship arrived, the galaxy remembered something it had long forgotten: that the most dangerous species in the universe was not the one that conquered worlds, but the one that chose when not to. As Sol Vanguard drifted beyond the last known system, its captain stood before the vast window of stars. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "We will watch until they are ready." The stars shimmered in reply, and the ship moved onward into the endless dark where legends begin and never end.